Thank you for joining Wars of the Roses. And this is Oregon from the Encyclopedia of Freemasonry by Albert G. Mackey. Oregon. The first lodges instituted in Oregon were under warrants from the Grand Lodge of California in the year 1849. On August 16, 1851, a convention of 3 lodges was held in Oregon City, and the Grand Lodge of Oregon was there organized, Berryman Jennings being elected Grand Master. The Grand Chapter was organized at Salem, September 18, 1860. Templarism was introduced by the organization of Oregon Commandery No. 1 at Oregon City on July 24, 1860. The Grand Lodge of Missouri granted authority for the organization of Multnomah Lodge at Oregon City in 1848. When 2 other lodges were opened under the Grand Lodge of California, the requisite number for the formation of a Grand Lodge of Oregon was complete. On August 16, 1851, a convention was held at Oregon City with Brother Berryman Jennings in the chair and Brother Benjamin Stark, secretary, which decided in favor of a Grand Lodge. An address was sent out and a further meeting called for September 13, 1851. Multnomah, Willamette, and Lafayette lodges, the 3 then existing in the state, sent representatives, and Brothers John Elliott and W.S. Caldwell were elected chairman and secretary. 2 days later, a constitution was adopted and Brothers Jennings and Stark were installed Grand Master and Grand Secretary respectively. Multnomah Chapter No. 1 Royal Archmasons at Salem was granted a dispensation about April-May 1856 by the General Grand High Priest, Robert P. Dunlap, Brunswick, Maine, and the first meeting held under this authority occurred on June 17th of the same year. Records of this chapter were submitted to the General Grand Chapter at the Triennial Convocation in Hartford, Connecticut, later in the above year, and a charter was issued accordingly under the date of September 11, 1856. This charter reached Salem in due course, and past Grand High Priest William H. Howard, Grand Chapter of Louisiana, was chosen to constitute the chapter under the charter. Companion Howard, residing in San Francisco, it was not until February 14, 1857 that the chapter was legally constituted and the officers installed. A dispensation for Portland Chapter No. 3 at Portland was dated January 1, 1859, and the first meeting took place on February 12th of that year. A charter for this chapter was issued on September 15, 1859, and the officers installed on January 12, 1860. The Grand Chapter of Oregon was organized at Salem on September 18, 1860, by representatives of Multnomah Chapter No. 1 Salem, Clackamas Chapter No. 2 Oregon City, Portland Chapter No. 3 Portland and Oregon, Chapter No. 4 Jacksonville, Clackamas Chapter No. 2 and Oregon Chapter No. 4 surrendered their charters soon after the organization of the Grand Chapter of Oregon, but were later on chartered anew with the same names and numbers as Clackamas Chapter No. 2 on June 12, 1893, and Oregon Chapter No. 4 on June 9, 1877. Companion A.H. Hodson was authorized by the General Grand Master of the General Grand Council to convene a minimum of 5 Royal and Select Masters and to confer the degrees upon not more than 9 Royal Archmasons. Pioneer Council No. 1 was therefore organized at McMinnville by dispensation dated September 1, 1881. A charter was issued August 14, 1883. A convention composed of representatives from the 3 councils in the state, namely Pioneer No. 1, Oregon No. 2, and Washington No. 3, was held on February 3, 1885, and a Grand Council was formed by dispensation from General Grand Master George M. Osgoodby, dated December 15, 1884. A special dispensation from the Grand Master of the Grand Encampment of the United States was issued December 10, 1875 for Oregon Commandery, No. 1. A regular dispensation followed on February 15th. On October 6, 1877, the charter was signed, and the first meeting as a chartered commandery took place on October 22. The Grand Commandery of Oregon was organized in Albany on Thursday, February 10, 1887, and Sir Knight James F. Robinson was elected first Grand Commander. The Grand Master of the Grand Encampment, Charles Room, under date of March 4, 1887, gave his authority to complete the organization and to install the Grand Officers, which was done on April 13, 1887. The history of the ancient and accepted Scottish Rite in Oregon begins with the establishment in Portland of Oregon Lodge of Perfection, number 1, Ainsworth Chapter of Rose Croix, number 1, Multnomah Council of Kadosh, number 1, and Oregon Consistory, number 1. Their charters were dated February 5th, 1870, November 14th, 1871, January 11th, 1872, and March 20th, 1891, respectively. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to share, like, subscribe, and comment. And if you can, please consider donating to Wars of the Roses. Links to PayPal and Patreon are in the description. Thank you so very much.